Hello friends, I am Guninder Sidhu and this is my first episode on this channel. This episode is about some aspects of this war, the ongoing war against coronavirus. I feel that we are in the middle of war, and I want to say one thing, that no war can be won with fear. हम डर से कोई युद्ध नहीं जीत सकते. So we have to be fearless. Yes, it is essential to take precautions and be very alert about the disease. But to be so much afraid, how can we afford to have fear in the middle of war? I appreciate government and all the corona warriors who are fighting this war for the last about 6 months. But here I want to say one thing, that we have to learn from history. Here I give you an example. Do you know that the Great Wall of China, it was mainly constructed to stop the foreign invasion, to resist the foreign enemy. But you know what actually happened? उस दीवार को बनाने के लिए, द ग्रेट वॉल ऑफ चाइना को बनाने के लिए इतना खर्चा हो गया that the kingdom started collapsing from the inside. Moreover, according to the reports, about 1 million people died while constructing this wall. शायद अगर बाहर से इन्वेजन हो जाता तो इतने लोग न मरते. So what is the moral of this story? That we should not be so occupied or hypnotized about the foreign invasion that हमारा जो अंदर का किला है, the inner citadel, कहीं वो ना collapse हो जाए. Yes, we need to fight against this coronavirus, but at the same time we need to protect ourselves. हम बाहर की जंग लड़ते लड़ते अंदर से ना हार जाएं. Now I tell you my own experiences during this war against coronavirus, that earlier at the back of the mind I was also afraid, very much afraid about this disease. But later somehow my fears were evaporated. Now when I recollect, I feel that due to 2 reasons I became fearless. One reason is that I made deliberate decision to not to listen to the news. Though I have worked in media, but I avoided news of every kind. And second thing is that I made direct contact with my own body. I started experiencing my own body. Now first, about the first aspect. Instead of listening to the news, I relied upon the semiotic understanding of the things. Semiotics is the science of science. Like a traffic light, it has its own message. This is the semiotic study of the traffic lights. Now if you go to any place, if you observe the hoardings, from those hoardings जो board लगे हुए हैं, kind of shops, and you can very well understand the culture, the society of that society. This is also a semiotic study. Now on the basis of that semiotic study, I started observing the signs of coronavirus. First thing that I came across that changed my mindset is one funny message in which Mr. Bean has been depicted, and he was saying that I wonder about humanity that is fighting a war against a coronavirus or any disease. And they say that there is no cure for this disease. But at the same time, they say that this disease is being killed by the soap. Now that opened my window of understanding कि जो हम एक मिथ थी हमारे अंदर के ये कोरोना वायरस का कोई भी एंटीडोट नहीं है, नथिंग, इट इज़ नॉट क्योरेबल, एंड दैट डिजीज इज बीइंग किल्ड बाय द सोप, दैट बस्टेड द बलून ऑफ फियर कि यार ये एक ऐसी डिजीज है जो साबुन से ही मर जाए. After that, I started observing more the semiotic signs. When the government opened public transport and liquor vents, I smiled. After few months, government opened gyms, though at the same time they have banned the outdoor sports, but gyms were opened. And in busting this fear, who contributed the most? I salute to those patients who, while sitting in the corona wards, they made the video and depicted that actually they are hale and healthy. That gave the feeling that actually this disease is not that critical. There are many of people who are getting cured and who are not being affected by this disease. Then the governments, they started claiming that more than 80% of the patients have been cured. So what kind of disease is this? 80% of the patients were cured without any medicine and vaccination. And still, in our mindset, it is a very dangerous disease. What kind of dangerous disease it is? ये कैसी खतरनाक महामारी है जिसमें 80% पेशेंट्स ठीक हो रहे हैं विदाउट एनी मेडिसिन, विदाउट एनी एंटीडोट, विदाउट एनी वैक्सीनेशन. So all these things, I'm thankful to these things that they busted fear from me. But when I became fearless and I started observing the things quite objectively, and I realized that people they are suffering a lot. मैं बार बार ये कहता हूँ कि दुख से बड़ा दुख का डर है. I realized that people were not suffering because of the disease itself, but due to the fear of disease. Whenever I go out in the market, people, there is a great fear in their eyes while their body language is very passive, very depressive, very fearful. The second thing that I did is that I made direct contact with my body. I used to sit silently, and when peace descends upon me, then with that peaceful mind I used to observe my body. I used to observe whether there is any kind of irritation in my nostrils, in my throat, or if there is any problem in my breathing pattern or not. If there is no such symptoms, then I used to say to myself, I am hale and healthy. So in these things, where is the need of that much of fear? I just managed to evaporate my fear by distancing myself from the bombardment of the news, from the bombardment of information. That there are so many patients, so many deaths and everything. But I feel strange that why we don't see the positive side. 80%, more than 80% of patients, they have recovered. They have been cured without any medicine. So it means this disease is not that critical. And another thing that I did is that मैंने सोच लिया कि अगर ये बीमारी हो जाएगी तो भाई देख लेंगे, आई विल फाइट इट आउट। I took precautions, but I prepared myself. I built that aptitude कि देख लेंगे. So by now, I'm hale and healthy. And more importantly, without the fear of this disease. क्योंकि मैं नहीं चाहता कि हम चीन की दीवार बनाते बनाते अंदर का गिला उसे खुद ही तहस नहस कर दें। Now, I want to request to the policy makers and decision makers that it's okay that you took all precautions, whatever the visible measures were available, and you took all the measures. But have you realized that how it is going to affect a normal human being? Here I tell you two horror stories. First thing is, my friend, he told that he was coming from Chandigarh to Rajpura, and जो अंडों की रेडी होती है, the seller of eggs alongside the road, he stopped there and जो रेडी वाला था उसने बातचीत की, and he found that he is a newcomer, and he asked why are you holding this ready here? He told with wet eyes कि he is having a shop of photography and he used to do photography in weddings. But due to the coronavirus and lockdown, there are no marriages, and he was out of work for last about 5-6 months. Now that businessman वो अब अंडों की रेडी लगा रहा था. If you feel the plight, if you empathetically feel the plight of that person, it is a real horror story. Another horror story is that a very young man, he used to call me about after every 2 days and saying that मुझे कोरोना हो गया सर. मैंने पूछा कि कैसे? He says कि there is irritation in nostrils and throat and he is feeling heavy breathing. He went to several doctors and he was found negative. But he was living in great fear. And if you again feel the plight of that person, even that is a horror story. And I tell you that there are millions of such horror stories. The migrant labor, though I salute to them, they walked 1,000 miles to reach at their home. Humanity has suffered a lot. Now the time is to compensate them. This is very important. अगर गवर्नमेंट के पास कोई ग्रांट आ रही है, इंटरनेशनल ग्रांट, और whether they are getting any help, then first help should reach to those people who suffered immensely, financially and psychologically, due to this war against corona. I also request to the media to please इन ऐसे लोगों को खोद के बाहर लाओ, उनकी स्टोरीज पर न्यूज़ बनाओ, that how they survived in such difficult circumstances. Here I want to say one more thing. I give you one example that a patient goes to two kind of doctors. Suppose first doctor says कि आप यार बिल्कुल ठीक हो, अगर थोड़ी बहुत ही प्रॉब्लम है, you will be all fine within few days. और सेकेंड डॉक्टर वो कहता है कि यू आर सफरिंग फ्रॉम दिस डिजीज, इट इज सो डेंजरस. Do you know that millions of people worldwide have died due to this disease? And there is no medicine for it. Now you tell which doctor is better one, the first or second. And through you, I want to suggest one more thing. That is, while fighting with this disease, we have to take care of our totality, our whole being. Healthy person is not that in which there are no symptoms. The absence of symptoms is not a health. Health is about wholeness, the totality. And this totality includes our psychological health, our sociological health, our financial health. Now, if the government wants to fight with this disease, then it should keep this totality of health in the mind. No one can fight any battle with empty stomach, with fear in mind, with stress in the head. And one thing that is being repeated again and again, that in this fight against coronavirus, our immunity is the best weapon. Now, our immunity is directly related to our fearlessness, our total well-being. So we need to shift this strategy of warfare, where our total health, the whole well-being of the humans is protected. If this is done, then this disease will automatically get defeated. So in the end, I just want to say that we should not commit that mistake of building a Great Wall of China. That in order to resist the foreign invasion, हम अपना inner citadel, जो अंदर का किला है, उसे खत्म ना कर लें. In all this warfare, we need to protect ourselves. We need to keep us alive. We need to keep us hale and healthy. With these words, I conclude this episode here. See you soon. Thank you.
Press the bell icon and never miss an update from Singonline.